What is up, guys? Welcome to another Dragonheir Silent Gods video. Hope you guys are having an amazing start of the week. We are starting the week with some very good news. The developers actually announced tons and tons of things. Mainly, what is their vision for Dragonheir? The end game goal, right? And I'm not talking about the end game content. I'm talking about the vision for the future of the game. And in today's video, we're going to break down all of those changes that they are planning to basically bring to the game in the near future, starting with next year. Of course, we don't have the exact details for pretty much everything, but there are a lot of good news in here. And I'm glad to see that the developers are continuously listening to our feedback, and they're trying to basically make this game better than everything else that there is out there, right? So I will be kind of like quoting more or less word on word on what they actually said. In recent months, they have continued to closely observe and listen to the voices of both players and creators, our suggestions, our discussions, and even the things that we disagreed on, like negative feedback and stuff like that. Everything has been essential for the game's growth, right? Next year, Dragonheir will undergo a major version update. This update will introduce richer and deeper gameplay content, bring a significant overhaul to the season system, launch a brand new collaboration with a well-known IP, and implement more systematic improvements to long-term balance and fairness. So basically, one of the main things that we can all agree that is just not really working is the seasonal system, right? I know we talked about it in the previous version of the game as well. We talked about it once again. While I can definitely say that I'm used to the seasonal system, I feel like it tends to get a bit more repetitive with the endgame content, losing the gear that we're farming constantly and reaching this stage where we just cannot get better gear. Like in season 2 was bad. Right now it feels much worse, at least on my account. Maybe I just have bad luck and I'm just not dropping anything good. It makes the seasonal experience feel like a chore, and rather than something that we will enjoy, is something that will just end up in hating more and more, and this will make people quit the game. Then is the whole idea of having all of the player base separated. Okay, this is the biggest issue. This is something that we have been discussing since the very beginning. It's not good to have everybody in different seasons. You guys come watch one of my videos that I'm probably gonna post, or I've already posted yesterday, right? Summons in season 3. And you guys are gonna be like, what the heck? I cannot get these characters. They're not available in my season. When am I gonna be in that season, right? And the main problem here is not only a disadvantage for US players. In some cases, it can be a blessing in disguise because you can see all of the mistakes that we're making and learn from them and not repeat them yourself. But I feel like it's a big monetary issue for the actual game. Some players might start playing the game, and instead of having the ability to spend money and summon for Rook in season 1 if they want to, they won't be able to do so. And that's mainly because they don't have those banners active, which means that a lot of those players could potentially quit well before they get to that stage and never actually spend money to support the game and overall generate more income for the developers, which of course enables them to develop the game better. So this has always been a problem that I've mentioned in the past as well, right? So hopefully, whatever they have planned with this is going to address these situations with the seasonal content. Then, talking about the well-known IP, I have no idea what it is. So far, we do have collaborations with Dungeons and Dragons. They tend to work pretty well. You're getting a new character and all that stuff. I'm not necessarily going crazy after any big IPs. I think something that will fit very well in here is Mortal Kombat. I think it will fit just insanely well in this game because it is a darker theme, right? High fantasy and stuff. But I could not care less about big IP collaborations. What I would love to see, of course, are things that will solve the core issues. Now, before anything is officially announced, we want to share these directional insights with our creators first. Dragonheir has always been a game shaped together with its community, and many of the upcoming changes originated directly from the suggestions repeatedly raised and discussed by players and creators. Our goal is not simply to add more content, but to turn Dragonheir into a game that truly respects its community, values every piece of feedback, and can be loved by more players for the long term. I totally agree with this. Like, I remember from the very beginning, the game was always really focused on the community, even though we haven't got everything that we want to. The thing is with the community as well. There are things that the community is asking for. You cannot deliver on everything. Delivering on everything can be a big mistake because a lot of those things might make sense if you say them. But the more you think about some of the things, you end up in understanding that that will just hurt the game rather than help the game. Of course, they are different sensitive topics in here. Things that can help, things that won't really help and will just make it worse. So I'm not saying they need to listen to every damn thing we have to say, right? But there are a lot of things that can, of course, be added to the game in order to improve it. Now, let's talk about the first topic, richer and deeper gameplay content. At the moment, we have the dungeons. I think in terms of them adding content to the game, they're not doing bad. Like, every season we get something new. They changed the temporal vortex after 2 seasons, which is nice. I think in terms of content, they are doing pretty well. But it comes the problem of repetitive content. Every season, you start with the dungeons, then you move into the end game. Season is over, rinse and repeat. And it can get pretty damn dull after a while, right? We are in season 3, and I bet a lot of you guys feel like, well, I can't be bothered with this again, right? And you can see it because some of the OG players will be like, you know what, I'm throwing in the towel. I'm done of fighting the same bosses. I'm done of fighting the endgame boss for 1 or 2 weeks, and then rinse and repeat. So it needs to be a different type of hook to keep the players engaged. And that's not just important for the player base, but it's very important for them as developers. If they want their game to be more successful, have more eyes on it and things, they definitely need to find that hook that the game is missing at the moment. At least based on my opinion, right? So they want to do new server-wide confrontation mode, which will include the large-scale feature Crown Clash, bringing faction coordination, territory control, and strategic decision-making to the forefront. This reminds me of 4x4 strategy games, where you have a massive map and is controlled by these alliances, these factions, these crews, basically, right? So it can be a pretty interesting game mode that will have a good PvP endgame, right? I think that can be a very, very cool thing, and it can be a very good hook as well. Then, expanded exploration systems. New otherworld exploration and sandbox region with stage-based progression and in-run growth, increasing depth beyond simple stat scaling. So instead of what we have right now, you have the otherworld exploration, you go, you kill a few mobs on the map, you unlock the map, then you basically repeat these challenge bosses from here. You have them there again with 8 teams, which I think out of everything in a season is the most boring part. The rewards that you're getting from there don't really make sense for the stage where you're at in the game, because you're kind of like looking to get endgame rewards, right? And it just doesn't really feel like you're getting those endgame rewards from there. I know you're getting Heliolite dice. I'm not just talking about that. You're getting a lot of things that you don't really need anymore at that moment in time because you're already prepared. I know it's kind of like a mechanic to prepare the more casual players, but they need to find that thin line in between the hardcore players and the casual players to satisfy both of their needs, right? Then, in terms of exploring the map, I'm not the biggest fan of stories and lore and all that thing, but I know a lot of people are. So, once again, I think it's a really thin line into basically satisfying both of the needs. I wouldn't necessarily want more stories, but a lot of you guys want. I would prefer to have stories at the beginning of the season or stuff like that, because you're not jumping straight into dungeons and things like that, right? Then, basically, we'll have low burden strategy focused gameplay modes. Several new modes will require little to no team building or long-term growth, allowing players to jump in and play instantly. That can be something similar with the Ancestral Ruins. Personally, I do not enjoy the Ancestral Ruins game mode. I think it just takes way too long time, and these rewards from here are just not appealing at all. If I'm gonna go in with a completely different team than the Aura team that I have featured right here, I won't be getting the blessings that I need. I'll be getting blessings just for Aura left and right. Now, I know that that is the whole idea of the game mode and stuff, but I'm not a big fan of this game mode myself. I know some of you guys actually love it. And then they're talking about the new collaboration with a well-known IP, but without providing any details. That, of course, is a very sensitive topic. They have embargoes, they have contracts that they need to respect. They cannot just tell you we have plans to do a collab event with a Lord of the Rings or whatever, right? But either way, I'll take that too. The second main point, season system overall. So, I'm very curious to see what things they can actually do in here. After essential onboarding, so I would assume everybody starts playing. If you start playing 5-6 months after me, you're gonna have to do the essential onboarding, which might take you a bit of time, a month, a few weeks. Then you can come and join the rest of us. Now, the one con with this is the fact that each season had events, had specific banners, and I think it will make it a bit harder for newcomers to put their hands on those characters. But that is the same in any other game, okay? And if people are playing the other games and they completely ignore the fact that, oh my god, it's going to be so hard for me to put my hand on Beldele, for example, I think it's not a big problem. Because as long as people are playing other games and they completely ignore this, why wouldn't they do it in Dragonheir? Plus, we have literally the best summoning banners in Dragonheir, comparing it with any other game from this genre, this space. And I'm not talking about anime trashy games that give you banners for 20 summons and stuff like that, right? So, if they find a good system to make this work, to empower you in the first month or something like that, to spray at you with rewards, I think it can be pretty cool. Then, season shift from repetitive resets, thanks God, to content themes. Now, this is something that I've always said. Why are they not doing something like this instead? My ultimate most favorite game was Destiny. Okay, it's not a mobile game, even though they've made a version of it now. It's a PC game. It's a shooter RPG loot-based game. Basically, they used to have something like seasons in there as well. And instead of resetting your stuff, what they used to do is add something like an additional layer of power onto your level. So if right now your maximum level is 100, in the next season, you can have on top of this one, I think it used to be called light level, right? And that used to increase all the time from 150 all the way to 400 across different seasons or different content themes, right? But it kept it in balance. We did not require that reset. They just increased the difficulty of content with every new season, and our level was going up every season. Okay, and that ensured that the reset does not happen. And I think it was a very, very cool idea. I always said, why are they not doing something similar? Because the one thing that people hated the most about it was the seasonal system, right? But if they are willing to work on it, that's definitely very good news. So they will be focusing on new maps, new gameplay, and new narrative events rather than restarting familiar loops. The best news ever, okay? Literally. And this is gonna bring a lot of players back, and I cannot wait. I personally love this game, and it even hurts me to see that it's not at the level where it should be in terms of player base. I think this game should have way more players than Raid or other games out there. And that's just mainly because the game is so well done. Graphics, battle system, mechanics, I think it's top notch, right? So if they fix that seasonal problem, which I know is keeping players away, this will skyrocket, okay? Then, optimize banners and resource pacing. Targeted heroes will become easier to obtain and growth paths more streamlined. I personally think that the banners are good. We do have a lot of banners, but like in any other game, if you are not a spender, managing your resources is the most important thing. You cannot go and get everything as free-to-play, and that's fine. That's what makes the free-to-play enjoyable, because it's all about weighing in on the right decisions, aiming for the right characters, and I think the banners are more than fine as they are. I know 300 summons might seem a lot for some of you guys, but you're getting some of the best characters in the game for the 300 summons, which will cost you thousands and thousands and thousands in other games, and they're not even guaranteed. So if you put that into consideration and comparing it with other games, they're 10 times better, easily, okay? But then, I wouldn't say no to 150 summons banner, don't get me wrong. The thing is, you don't want to have everything too easy either, because if you end up in collecting everything super easy, you're gonna get bored, and that's the reality. We've seen plenty of different games that gave you everything on a silver plate, and people stop playing them in 3 to 4 weeks because, oh, I've got everything, everything's easy. Why am I playing? I'm bored, right? We do not want to get into that phase. Then, cross-server transfer system, allowing players to finally join their friends, creators, or community groups in the same server. Now, that will come at a price because it's all about the seasonal leaderboard. How is it on your server? Are you getting absolutely demolished on other servers? You're not. So that's going to play a very, very important role as well. And I'm just looking at it. I'm not sure how the heck I'm so behind. Like, what am I missing? What am I missing right here? Is it this, the Continental Challenge? I don't think we're getting Essence of Creation from here. Not Essence of Creation. We're not getting the materials from here for the leaderboard, right? You're only getting it from the leaderboard. And this is only at the end of it. I'm really not sure how I'm so behind, though. A bit weird, but either way, that's fine. I'll still pick a top 50 without a problem, and that's what I'm aiming for this season. Let's move on to the next thing. Long-term balance and fairness improvements. So, talking about characters, we have a bunch of characters in the game. It does work a bit differently in Dragonheir, comparing it with other games, because it's all about schools of damage, which makes the game unique, and I like that idea. I wouldn't want them to change it. But they are characters, like, not part of the schools of damage. Let's take, for example, Narrow. Let's take, for example, Tolwar, or other characters like this that are not that great, okay? Revitalizing underused heroes through attributes adjustments and gameplay environment updates, enabling more mechanics and team styles to thrive. So basically, they are planning to do something that allows us to use other characters that are not really being used at all, right? And there are tons and tons of characters that are not really being used. Reduced gear pressure. expanded acquisition sources, and lower RNG, making finishing a build more predictable and accessible. Now, I do want to mention one thing. This is only important in the current system where we have the reset. Okay? If there is no reset happening, they do not need to change anything with the gear, because that will make it too easy after, and you don't have that carrot dangling in front of you that you want to follow. But in the current system, where we reset every 2-3 months and we need to start from scratch with the gear, having lower RNG on the gear drops is insanely important, because at the moment, it's just almost impossible to get decent gear out of this event. So it's good to see that they acknowledge this. I've talked about it many times. Then enhance fairness in competitive modes. Certain PvP and confrontation modes will adopt low growth and no growth rules, ensuring strategy, not stats, determines victory. That is very good as well. But at the same time, in order to keep the carrots in front of the Krakens, they do need to leave one of those game modes active, as it is. So these are the main things that they are planning to work on next year. This is their vision for the future of the game, and I can say with confidence that they touched down on the most important topics. Now, we do not have the exact information on how they're planning to change all of this, but they did bring in some pretty important points, right? So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. As usual, appreciate every single one of you guys watching, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.